Dumbo Octopus. At 6,957 meters, there's a cephalopod with access to 99% of every ocean floor on Earth. It can go almost anywhere on the bottom of the planet, and the way it hunts is nothing like any octopus you've seen. Most octopuses squeeze through cracks and ambush prey with precision. This one floats in open water, flapping a pair of fins that look exactly like cartoon ears, and swallows things whole. No tearing, no beak work. The Dumbo Octopus, genus Grimpoteuthis, was filmed in the Java Trench during the 5 Deeps expedition in 2019, smashing the cephalopod depth record by over 1,800 meters. At this depth, the pressure hits about 700 atmospheres, 700 times what you feel at sea level, pressing on every square inch of its body, and it just drifts. Evolution stripped the ink sac entirely because there's no light down here for a smokescreen to matter. The ear fins replaced jet propulsion because flapping uses a fraction of the energy, and when meals are rare, efficiency is survival. Now, Dumbo Octopus sounds like one animal. It's actually 18 different species across the genus Grimpoteuthis. Some live as shallow as 100 meters. The name stuck because of those fins, nothing else. 99% of every ocean floor on Earth, and it just floats there, flapping its little ears like it has nowhere to be. Vampire squid. Its scientific name is Vampiroteuthis infernalis. That translates to vampire squid from hell, and somehow that's the least interesting thing about it. What it actually eats will change everything you think you know about cephalopods. This thing isn't a squid. It isn't an octopus. It's the sole living member of its own entire order, Vampiromorphidae, a lineage stretching back 250 million years. It was already here when the first dinosaurs showed up. About 30 centimeters long, dark reddish-brown, with enormous blue eyes, proportionally among the largest of any animal. It lives in the oxygen minimum zone, between 600 and 3,000 meters, where dissolved oxygen drops to roughly 3%. That's like trying to breathe on a mountain 3 times higher than Everest. Its survival strategy is doing almost nothing. It has the lowest mass-specific metabolic rate of any deep-sea cephalopod, and it doesn't hunt at all. It's the only known cephalopod that feeds on marine snow, dead organic debris drifting down from above. A vampire that eats garbage. 8 arms connected by a webbed cape covered in light organs, and when threatened, it flips the cape over its body in what scientists call the pineapple posture. Basically the deep-sea equivalent of pulling a blanket over your head. Its full name is vampire squid from hell. It eats dead zooplankton poop. Branding has never been this misleading. Mariana Snailfish. There's a biological limit to how deep a fish can survive. This one lives right at the edge of it. The chemical trick keeping its proteins from collapsing is something scientists didn't think was possible at this concentration. Filmed at 8,336 meters in the Izu Ogasawara Trench off Japan in 2022, the Mariana Snailfish is the Guinness-confirmed deepest fish ever recorded, breaking the previous record by 158 meters. It looks like barely anything, tadpole-shaped, about 30 centimeters, completely translucent, with cartilage where bones should be, and eyes that barely function. You can see its liver through its skin. At this depth, the pressure exceeds 800 atmospheres. Every square inch of this fish is being pressed with the force of a small car. Its proteins should unfold at this pressure, and they would, except for extremely high concentrations of a molecule called TMAO, that holds cell membranes together against the crush. Scientists believe this depth is near the absolute biological limit for fish, because beyond it, TMAO makes the cells too rigid to function. And the record wasn't even set in the Mariana Trench. It was the Izu Ogasawara Trench. Different trench, different ocean. It can't see. You can see through it. And it lives in a place where the math says fish shouldn't work. The ocean didn't read the paper. The deeper you go, the less the ocean looks like anything on Earth. Osedax zombie worm. When a whale dies and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, something is already waiting. Something that has no mouth. How it eats without a digestive system involves a biological hack that took scientists years to figure out. Osedax, found as deep as 4,204 meters, has no mouth, no gut, no anus, zero digestive tract. Instead, it secretes acid through root-like tissues that bore directly into whale bones, dissolving them to access the lipids locked inside. Endosymbiotic bacteria living in those roots handle the actual digestion. The worm outsourced its entire digestive system to microbes. But the reproduction is where it gets truly strange. The males are microscopic. Hundreds of them live inside a single female's tube, each one smaller than a grain of sand. They never leave. They never grow. They exist solely to provide sperm. And this isn't recent. Bore marks matching Osedax have been found in plesiosaur fossils, at least 100 million years of this. Without Osedax, whale skeletons would sit on the seafloor for centuries. The name zombie worm implies it attacks living things. It doesn't. It only colonizes dead bones, and not just whale bones either. Researchers have watched it bore into cow bones in the lab. No mouth, no gut, hundreds of husbands who never leave. And it's been doing this since dinosaurs had bones to sink. Chemosynthetic tubeworms. In 2025, scientists published something in Nature that rewrote the rules. They found the deepest complex ecosystem on Earth. Not bacteria, not microbes, thriving communities of animals nearly 10 kilometers down. The energy source keeping them alive has nothing to do with the sun. Nothing. At 9,533 meters in the Kuril, Kamchatka, and Aleutian trenches, suboglanid tubeworms packed densities of 5,800 per square meter. That's more crowded than a packed concert, except it's nearly 10 kilometers underwater, under over 950 atmospheres of pressure. And these communities stretch across 2,500 kilometers of trench floor. That's roughly the distance from New York to Las Vegas. These worms have no mouth and no gut. They run on symbiotic bacteria housed in a specialized organ called a trophosome, powered entirely by hydrogen sulfide and methane seeping through fault cracks in the sediment. Zero dependence on photosynthesis. Most people hear tube worms and picture the famous riftia from hydrothermal vents. These aren't those. No volcanic heat here. Cold seeps through fault lines. Different chemistry, different ecosystem, over 2,000 meters deeper. 5,800 organisms per square meter, just existing there. No sunlight, no photosynthesis, no connection to anything on the surface. 10 kilometers down, life built its own world and didn't bother telling us. If you're enjoying deep-sea creatures like these, the channel covers animal biology every week, and subscribing really helps keep it going. Thanks. Mirabestiidae. In March of 2026, scientists pulled something from the deep Pacific that didn't fit into any known category of animal. Not a new species, a new superfamily. That's a taxonomic rank above family. Finding one is like discovering an entirely new limb on the tree of life, not a twig. The last time this happened in amphipods was decades ago. Mirabestiidae mazie is about 1 centimeter long, a shrimp-like amphipod found at roughly 4,200 meters in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, the vast stretch of Pacific seafloor between Hawaii and Mexico. The thing that made it impossible to classify wasn't its size or its depth, it was its mouth. A unique conical mouthpart structure that broke every expected pattern for amphipod groups. Its limbs didn't match anything known either. Gene sequencing confirmed the evolutionary isolation. Published in ZooKeys, it was part of a haul of 24 new species from a single expedition. And the Clarion-Clipperton Zone remains roughly 90% taxonomically undescribed. 24 species from one trip. The ocean isn't close to running out of secrets. Dr. Tammy Horton named it after her daughter Maisie. Evolution built a 1 centimeter shrimp so strange it broke an entire classification system, and we nearly missed it. Its home is already targeted for polymetallic nodule mining. We found a whole new branch on the Tree of Life in 2026. The ocean floor it lives on is already scheduled for mining. Timing. Anglerfish. You've seen the glowing lure. Everyone has. But the real horror of this animal isn't how it hunts, it's how it mates. Deep-sea cerachioid anglerfish include about 170 species, found below 5,000 meters. The female carries a bioluminescent lure powered by symbiotic bacteria. The male is another story. He's sometimes 1/40th her size. Proportionally, that's a human man being the size of a tennis ball. When a male finds a female, he bites onto her body and releases enzymes that dissolve the tissue at the junction. Their circulatory systems fuse. And then he dissolves. Eyes gone, fins gone, brain gone. Every organ breaks down except the testes. He becomes a permanent sperm-producing parasite, fused to her body for the rest of his life. Females have been found with up to 8 males attached simultaneously, all brainless, all just testicles now. A 2024 Yale study figured out how this works. The species lost its adaptive immune system entirely. MHC genes, T-cell receptors, gone. Without that loss, the female's body would reject the fused tissue like a failed organ transplant. Not all anglerfish do this. Only certain deep-sea ceratioid families. Shallow water monkfish mate normally. Most anglerfish are tiny, just a few inches, not the monsters from the movies. 8 males, all fused, all brainless, all just providing sperm for the rest of their lives. Somehow, this is a successful reproductive strategy. Down here, the rules of biology don't just bend, they break. Sea pig. There are herds at the bottom of the ocean. Actual herds, walking in formation across the abyss. How they detect a food source from kilometers away, with no eyes and no real brain, is something science still can't fully explain. The sea pig, Scotoplanes globosa, is a plump, translucent pink sea cucumber about 10 to 15 centimeters long, with 5 to 7 pairs of enlarged tube feet it walks on like stubby legs and antenna-like protrusions poking off the top of its body. It's been recorded as deep as 9,997 meters in the Philippine Trench. Groups of up to 600 individuals, all facing into the current, intercepting organic material drifting down from above. If humans herded like sea pigs, 600 of us would walk single file through downtown Manhattan at 3 in the morning, all facing the same direction, and nobody would know why. They chemically detect whale carcasses from kilometers away and converge en masse. The tube feet evolved into actual walking structures, which is unusual for sea cucumbers. And despite looking like something a cartoon rejected, they're among the most common large animals on the abyssal seafloor. They're not rare at all. You just can't prove it because they disintegrate at surface pressure. The pressure is literally the only thing holding them together. 600 pink blobs, walking in formation, at the bottom of the Philippine Trench. And they dissolve if you try to show anyone. Supergiant Amphipod. Most amphipods fit on your fingernail. This one is the length of your forearm. The reason it got this big is connected to something the deep ocean does to almost everything down there. Alicella gigantea reaches up to 34 centimeters, roughly 13 inches, making it about 20 times larger than a typical amphipod. It ranges from 3,890 to 8,931 meters, pale, translucent, segmented, and built to scavenge rare food falls like whale carcasses and dead fish. If you scaled this up the way the deep ocean did, a common house spider would be the size of a golden retriever. Deep sea gigantism. Cold temperatures slow metabolism. Predation pressure drops to nearly nothing, and a bigger body stores more energy between meals. Something the size of your forearm, scuttling around at nearly 9,000 meters, and most people have never heard of it. A 2025 study in Royal Society Open Science modeled that this species may inhabit roughly 59% of the entire ocean floor, more than half the bottom of the planet. People often confuse it with the giant isopod, but they're entirely different crustacean orders. Amphipods are compressed from the sides. Isopods are flattened from the top. The deep ocean's answer to food scarcity? Just make everything huge. 59% of the ocean floor. A 13-inch crustacean that most people don't know exists, living under more than half the planet. Hirondellea gigas. The Challenger Deep. The absolute bottom. 10,994 meters down, nearly 11 kilometers of ocean pressing on every surface, and something lives there. What it eats at the very bottom, where no food should exist, turns out to be something that sank from a world it'll never see. Hirondellea gigas is a small amphipod, just a few centimeters long, confirmed at the deepest point in the Mariana Trench. It's a scavenger, and it produces cellulase enzymes that break down cellulose from wood. Wood that grew in sunlight, fell into a river, washed to sea, and sank 11 kilometers to the bottom of the planet. The food chain here starts with a tree it'll never see. At 1,100 atmospheres, that's the weight of 50 jumbo jets pressing on every square inch of your body. And this thing thrives in swarms at full ocean depth. Its physiology represents the absolute outer boundary of multicellular life on Earth. The idea that nothing can survive at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is a myth. Amphipods, foraminifera, and bacteria all thrive down there. The Challenger Deep isn't empty. We just took this long to look. 11 kilometers down, 1,100 atmospheres, the single deepest point on the planet. And a crustacean the size of a grain of rice is just living there, eating wood. The deepest points of the ocean aren't empty. They're full of things we're still finding for the first time. If you want more of the strangest biology on the planet, subscribing is the best way to catch the next one. Thanks for watching.